So what are my thoughts on how this new format is going to develop? So make sure you guys smash some crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. So you know the scariest thing about this upcoming format is how much people are freaking out about the return of Fairy Tale Snow. I think Fairy Tale Snow has been kind of honestly like the biggest wild card factor of this whole thing. Like, there's always going to be one card that's going to just kind of catch people off guard, and somehow Fairy Tale Snow was the one that managed to do, I think, the most craziness of this block. Now, do I think that Fairy Tale Snow is going to be, crazy broken? I think Fairy Tale Snow will do some things. You got to remember, we have the Fairy Tale deck, and I think this is the first time Konami didn't bring back Block Dragon during that whole episode. I think this is the first time that Konami said, we actually need to promote sales, get Fairy Tale Snow back in here as a one-of. We also don't have a lot of the broken tools that make Fairy Tale Snow kind of what it was. The card was a little bit broken in a lot of crazy regard, as we had seen throughout the years, being able just to do some really dumb things with that card. And also, spot removal options with that thing are very, 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 very broken. So going forward, I think Fairy Tale Snow will be an inconvenience. I think Fairy Tale Snow will also promote people to want to explore the Fairy Tale deck as a whole. I do know that over the weekend, I got sent a Fairy Tale list by a duelist that I believe made top 30 at his regional with the deck. So this deck is good enough to be able to perform and do well at events. Like, that's great news. And obviously, I was talking to them about what they want to put in for, Fairy Tale Snow actually being a card now. So that'll be a topic that we will have later in the week. Will be, the deck that Fairy Tale Snow is supposed to be in. How are we going to play this card? How will we explore this card? And what can we kind of expect out of Fairy Tale Snow's return back to the game? Because scary, scary, scary. And then, of course, I didn't forget about Premature Burial over here. So Premature Burial is one of the most interesting cards on the topic of conversation here, because this now means that we can bring Doom Z to another level. This is going to get us an extra free revive, and honestly, that's the real topic of conversation here. Like, everybody's looking at Fairy Tale Snow as the real problem maker here. I think that Fairy Tale Snow, or I think Premature Burial is probably going to be an interesting problem. Also, if I recall correctly, looking back at the Doom Z Genesis run, I do remember Premature Burial being a hot topic of conversation that deck was really getting the chance to enjoy. So I think they might have taken note of that run from that tournament and said, hey, what if we were to try to promote Doom Z having a better tournament life experience by just pushing that back into the meta? I think that might actually be what Konami's trying to do. Also, how broken will it actually be? I don't know. I'm also kind of curious about that myself. How much value can you possibly get out of that card? Well, we're about to find out. But Doom Z definitely was already a massively underrated deck within the space, and the fact that now you're going to be getting even more consistency out of it, you best bet your butt that Doom Z players are absolutely winning. So I think those are just dealing with the ban list as a whole, I think that those are probably the two most interesting topics of conversation to be had. Was how much better does Doom Z become as a deck, and how much more consistent do Doom Z decks become because of this Fairy Tale Snow's interruptibility and so forth. There's also, I guess, like a memorial service for Draco Tale. Are you truly surprised to see Draco Tale actually getting pummeled into the ground? right now, because the reality of the situation was like, Draco Tale did too well. Now, you could make the argument, well, we had natural power creep taking hold of the format. We were watching, this deck already kind of exit the format. What was the point in hitting it? It was just kind of Konami's way of going, well, we already want this deck out of the format. We want to push this in the other direction. We want to push this away from just being a broken challenger. And I get it. Natural power creep aside, you just want people to stop playing the deck. And the best way to make people stop playing the deck is just to destroy it out of the meta. So that was, I think, their way of saying, we're done with Draco Tale. We don't want the branded splash variants, abusing this anymore. We just want this completely eradicated and, enter into, what you just got in the format, which was the absolute checkening to, this. I mean, I think Draco Tale should have been fine. I don't think we should have really done anything to the deck. You already had the natural cycle of power creep pushing it down, but unfortunately, as it is, this was just what Konami wanted to do. So, everybody, I guess I don't have a better answer to you than that, other than, deck was already just on its last legs. But, hey, man, we just wanted to, hit it. Now, Cool Tune and Branded are probably still going to be your two best decks. If you're sitting here and you're like, well, actually, I don't think so. Wrong. All right. Okay, so Cool Tune lost 2 synchro overtakes. Who gives a fuck about that? All right, well, I guess your next topic of conversation comes down to, are we going to play Harmonias in the deck now? How are we going to explore the idea of building that one in? And honestly, you might now. Now that you've lost 2 consistency pieces, you've opened up some extra slots in the deck. Now, I would say give it a couple of days. Cool Tune will probably develop into some other metagame piece. Duelist Genesis still exists as a card. You still have a lot of those particular pieces to kind of come together to kind of save the deck. On the notion of Branded was already a deck that already had a decent matchup into Cool Tune. It was honestly kind of impressive how good your Cool Tune matchup was. You were able just to grind against them really hard. And, okay, so you lost a whole Branded fusion. Oh my god! Branded's dead. No. I already was reading a couple of comments from a couple of Branded people being like, well, may as well just play one Branded fusion at this point to put in another slot, because falling a white and Cocktatorium just kind of bridges you into what you need. So now the topic of conversation is going to come down to, how's Cocktatorium going to handle this? Will Cocktatorium be a replacement, or, because, Cocktatorium's job is to get you into Branded White, or Fallen of the White. Once you get that card rolling, woohoo, deck really, really, really gets pretty crazy from there. So, from where we're sitting right now, I think you have options available to you to kind of patch up your decks. And honestly, the only real loss of this format was Trains. Trains had 4 days to play, and K9 Trains just absolutely got obliterated. If there's a deck that I absolutely feel bad for as this meta is shifting around, it's just Trains. It's unfortunate that Trains were the ones that actually, got the biggest suffering punch of the block, but, here we are. So, I guess, sadly, Trains were the biggest loss of the format, because losing Noroi was just such a choice on Konami's behalf, and I still don't know why we did that, but here we are. So, what do you guys think about the new format? You ready for Fairy Tale to wake up and be a challenger? Are you ready for Cool Tune to still be crazy good? Because that's how it's about to be. We're about to see some very, very interesting things. And you know what? That's fine. I'm all for that. So please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. And I'll see your beautiful faces back here today, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.